Growing up I always dreamt of playing cricket for England, but I think specifically in Ashes series. Influenced heavily by my dad's success, but also in the garden playing cricket with a taped up tennis ball. My mates would be Matthew Hayden, I'd try and be Angus Fraser or Andrew Caddick, Darren Gough.
Miller's bowled him! Darren Gough has taken a hat-trick.
It was always an England-Australia battle. Whenever I went to my grandparents' house in Bristol, Grandad would drive everywhere with TMS on, so I'd sit in the back listening to that.
Angus, for goodness sake, stop it.
My whole sort of childhood was built around sport, but cricket particularly, I think, and I just had a huge hunger for cricket. Before the Trent Bridge Test, we all had a chat with Bob Willis, the bowling group, and we went for dinner at a local restaurant, and he talked about stories about how he stayed fit, how he got into running, that sort of thing, about his spell at Headingley, the famous eighter.
Here's Willis in, bowls to Bright. Bright bowled! The middle stamps out of the ground. England have won. They've won by 18 runs. Willis runs around, punching the air. Willis has taken 8 wickets for 43.
Superb bit of bowling by Bob Willis. 8 wickets, you can't ask for more than that.
Well, that roar from the Edgbaston crowd still makes your hair stand on end, doesn't it? Welcome to Trent Bridge, and for that fourth Test match in this 5-match series with England, 1 win away from...
The morning at Trent Bridge of the Test, I must admit I was nervous. I'd had a restless night. I probably felt the extra responsibility of Jimmy not playing. I think I've only played in 3 Test matches where he's not played.
Stuart's going to have to be the leader of the pack sooner or later, and it's sooner today. So
the responsibility of bowling the first ball of the game is always quite a big one. And all week, Trevor and Cookie had been on very much. It's all to do with the first hour of this game. We've been brilliant at Edgbaston. Let's come to Trent Bridge. Let's show the Aussies that we mean business with this first hour. So whether it's the opening batters or the opening bowlers, get it right. So of course that sort of builds up your emotions a little bit because you want to get it right for the team. So I woke up early, 6 a.m-ish I think, and had a bit of breakfast. Obviously my nerves were, my stomach was turning a bit. I could feel, it wasn't a bad feeling, it was like an excited feeling. I almost wanted to get the game going now. Got to Trent Bridge, got into my spot as per normal. I mean, I like to set up my spot the night before the game, the training before the game, just make sure my cap and sun hat, shirt I'm going to wear is not creased, etc. like that. So everything was in place. Those nerves sort of stayed with me up until very close to the game. I remember Cookie talking about the toss. He was very undecided what to do. He was leaning towards bowling. Our record there at Trent Bridge was great when we bat first, so I was sort of encouraging him to bat. And the only time I really settled on a bowl was when Shane Warne walked past me when I was marking my run-up out. And he said, "What do you think of this?" I was like, "We've got a decent grass covering, there's a bit of moisture underneath, but we know at Trent Bridge the outfield's always quick, it's always an okay place to bat early." And he said, "I'm always a bat first man, but I think even I'd have a bowl." And that made me think, well, if Shane Warne's thinking we should have a bowl, we should probably have a bowl.
Here's a toss.
Alice, do you have the coin?
Confirmation by the clerk about at 5.
This is the call. It is a tail.
England win the toss.
England have won the toss. Alistair, what are you going to do?
we're going to have a bowl.
There you go.
Was that a straightforward decision?
We thought so. That's a big toss.
And off I went to do my sort of pre-match, not rituals, superstitions, etc. I like to put my clothing on and get my sweatbands ready, etc. And then I walked down to the front. I always bowl some balls at Otis Gibson.
Of course, here comes Stuart Broad walking past, who still on 299 Test wickets, of course. He's marking out his run, looking very purposeful.
Hey, Brody. The thing about Brody that I really like is when he really needs to turn it on, he tends to. It's no surprise that his best records are in the Ashes. When the big Ashes Test matches come around, he tends to pull his finger out. So it wouldn't surprise me if he ran a mock this morning.
Well, he's got it about right, hasn't he? I know Swanee very well. It was actually quite funny leading through the test into the Test match. We went to Swanee's, me, Jimmy Stokes, he went to Swanee's on the Saturday night, and Charlie Shrek, who I played with at Notts, was cooking a barbecue for us. And Charlie was so nervous cooking because he had this fear that he was going to poison one of us and put us out the series deciding Test match. So he cooked everything to an absolute, like to death, really. We relaxed at Swanee's that week. He only lives sort of 6 or 7 houses away from me. So I think he maybe realised I was feeling the pressure a bit and he tried to take it off me.
Up on the screen I see a photograph of one of the favourites here at Trent Bridge, Clive Rice. who captained here for so many years. Of course, he led Nottinghamshire to 2 county championships, to a NatWest medal as well, 900-odd first-class wickets, 26,000 runs. He was a great all-round cricketer. And the crowd here standing and applauding. It's been minutes' applause for Clive Wright.
He was my dad's captain at Notts. My mum was very close to the family. I hadn't spent a lot of time with Clive, but I remember him calling me after I got man of the match in 2013 at Durham, got that 10 and 11 for, and he said it was one of the best spells he'd watched, which was amazing coming from a player of such sort of legacy at Notts. And after I remember being near the members, and they were all quite emotional, as they would be after losing a hero really quite unexpectedly. And I almost felt my nerves like disappear during that minute, because it was like, well, it's a game of cricket at the end of the day. I sort of, that feeling came over me of, I've done my training, like a family friend's lost his life, and I'm concerned about bowling the first ball of the game. Let's just go and do it.
And here come the England side. Listen to that. Cook leads them out. Stuart Broad goes past him, running sideways, the sweatband round his left wrist, the white floppy sun hat on, the long...
I saw Aggers, as I always do, stood by the boundary's edge, and I bought my dogs with Aggers and stuff, so he gave me sort of a wink of encouragement, and off we went, ran through the kids with the flags and got in the huddle.
And it's going to be the aforementioned Stuart Broad who's going to start things off from the pavilion end.
The first over is always a big one, and you've got to try and set the tone with your first couple of deliveries. I think that's always important. In my mind, I was so clear, I just didn't want to get driven. I didn't want to give the batsman an easy drive through the covers first ball of the game. So, didn't want to bowl a bouncer particularly, but anything above knee roll height, I was happy with.
Here he is, coming on to bowl. The first ball of this fourth test match is in, he bowled, and Rogers goes back, one that lifts.
And there was a bit of movement, a little bit of seam movement away from him. And I thought that would be the case, because I always scratch where my foot will land, just to give me a bit of extra grip. And quite a bit of moisture came up with the scratching of the surface. And then the next ball I fell into the old school trap of, it's moved quite a bit, that ball from short, so I'll start this a bit more leg side, see if it goes, and it sort of hit his pad and went for 4 byes.
Rogers turned it round the corner, that's going for 4. Was it?
So I walked back to my mark thinking, you've shown them so much inexperience there, it's unbelievable, what are you doing?
And that was a slightly bit of ill direction by Stuart Broad there.
Do what you've trained to do, get your alignment right, check that your chest is going towards off stump, and just bowl it at off stump. And then if it moves away, happy days. If it doesn't, then he's still got to play. And the next ball was the absolute perfect delivery that I was trying to bowl. I'd sort of decided in my mind what I was going for, and it couldn't have come out better.
Here is Stuart Broad again into Chris Rogers. He's up to the wicket now, he bowls. Oh, Rogers comes forward and he's got it! He's gone! He's caught there in the slips. And
just reminds me of sitting in the back of my granddad's car, that. You hear the crowd before you actually hear the dismissal, don't you? Yeah, that brings back nice memories.
Broad's 300th test wicket.
As soon as it caught the edge, I had a calmness about me. I just never thought Cookie was dropping that. He's got relatively safe hands, but he's not a 100%er. But it just went in nicely, and we were off. I'd sort of had this sort of run off to cover point, I think.
Beautiful bit of bowling there by Stuart Broad. Round the
that was a crucial wicket for me, because I know at Edgbaston I probably strived for that 300 wicket a little bit, and I'd got a glove down the leg side that we had no referrals left for, so it was almost fate that it was to happen at Trent Bridge. But once it happened, it was like, right, great start, lads. Thank God that's done. Let's focus on making some more inroads.
And here comes Broad in bowl stream. He comes forward driving. A fine throw. It slides off the face of the bat. 4 runs.
Steve Smith came in. He actually drove me really convincingly through the covers. But I was bizarrely quite happy with that. I knew that there was movement in the wicket, and although he'd struck the ball well, driving early on that wicket was quite a dangerous ploy for a number 3 with a brand new ball. So I actually remember walking back to my mark just like clapping under my chin, almost like I don't mind that shot. It shows that his nerves are there, his beans are going, so to speak.
But equally, Broad will be delighted. He won't mind bringing him onto the front foot.
The next ball, I sort of dragged my length back slightly so he couldn't drive, but it's still enough seam, and he just got completely turned round. And I think Rooty, I actually can't remember who caught it, because as soon as he nicked it, I was running. I knew it was being caught. I was off.
Here's Broad again. He's in. He's up to the wicket. He's there. And that one. He's out. He's gone. He's caught.
don't think Blowers knew who caught it either, did he? Yeah, I think he was as excited as I was when the edge
Second
came.
wicket in the first over, and Australia are 10 for 2. Can you believe it? You can't believe it. You couldn't have written the script like this. It's quite extraordinary.
That was quite an incredible start to the game. Still, the over went for 10, but we had 2 wickets, which was, when you win a toss, crucial.
All right, that's a great delivery from Broad. Absolute beauty, wasn't it, Blowers? Crikey,
It's always special at Trent Bridge, born in Nottingham, having grown up watching a lot of cricket in Nottingham. I feel very close to the crowd there, so I always get a nice sort of cheer when I come onto bowl and stuff, and I think with it being the first over of the game as well, the cheer was a little bit louder, so it was nice to sort of repay their cheer early on. I mean, none of us would have predicted what was going to happen in the next 17 over.
Wood kicks himself off. Here he is again. In now, bowls to Warner. Better. Oh, he goes right for it. He's gone. He's gone. He's caught behind. He's gone. Wood has got a wicket with his second ball. Australia are 10 for 3. And Warner has gone for naught. Unbelievable. Both openers out for naught. Warner and Rogers. Smith has gone for 6. We've had 8 balls of this match, and Australia are 10 for 3. And
I think we were aware of something very special was happening, but it was pure. All our thoughts were like, let's get ahead in this game, and because it was a pivotal Test match. It was, the Ashes were on the line. We'd worked for months for these sort of moments to be able to grab a chance, and we were grabbing it quite convincingly, really.
And poor old Michael Clarke, who thought going in 5, I'm going to be able to shelter myself a bit. He's coming in to face the 9th ball of the match.
So everyone on the field just wanted that to continue. All the talk was, okay, new batsman, let's this plan, let's make sure we do this. Remember, this is the length we're bowling, let's stick to that.
Well, now old Mr. Marsh, on his first Ashes in this England, has got to face Stuart Broad, a rampant Stuart Broad as well, on just a seaming pitch. England just need to rein it back a bit though, not get too carried away, just keep hitting those lines and lengths.
He's in, he's up to the wicket now, he bowls, and oh! And he's gone, he's caught there, and second slip, Bell has taken the catch, and 15 for 4. Can you believe it? It gets better and better and better for England, and worse and worse and worse for Australia. That was another.
I felt light. I felt like the ball was small, which meant that I could bowl it quicker. I don't know. I felt things did happen in slow motion. Even the edges, as I mentioned, I would just run off, but it was like it was a given that it was going to get caught. It just felt like the ball was hanging in the air, ready to be taken, and they're feelings that you don't always get as a bowler, obviously, because otherwise you'd bowl like that every day of your life. But I think I had a realisation of things are in my favour here a little bit. I've got a pitch that's got movement. I feel fresh as a daisy. I feel light. I feel like I've got the ball going exactly where I want it, and we've got 2 wickets early. So it was almost like a discipline of saying, let's capitalise on this as well. Let's make something happen here.
Here's Broad coming in and bowling to Voges. Oh, he's brilliantly caught! Brilliantly caught! That is an outrageous catch by Ben Stokes. That was gone. It was past him. And he flung himself backwards and to his right. You won't see a better catch, I'm sorry. That you can have your Andrew Strauss here in 2005. That beats it. That beats that catch. That was quicker. It had gone. He had no time to see that. Oh.
They've summed that up absolutely perfectly, really. I just couldn't believe he caught it. Aggers was saying there, the ball had gone, which was my complete feelings as well. I saw the edge, and I saw Adam Lyth turn to chase the ball, and my inner feelings were, oh, that's 4. And then I saw, obviously, Stokesy sort of dive behind him and take this unbelievable catch. And he only caught it in the 2 fingers. I think you can see he's got this awful broken finger that he had surgery on that went wrong. And it's sort of 1.5 times the size that it used to be. And he calls it his claw. And the ball sort of lodged in between his thumb and this claw, and he grabbed hold of it.
It was an absolutely astonishing catch.
I don't actually know how he's caught that.
It was the best catch I've ever seen in all my overs of playing cricket. And to see it from 12 yards away, 15 yards away was awesome. And I think I showed my disbelief in my face.
And yes, the ball has done a bit, but not that much there. They're showing the replay again, and you hear the gasp from the crowd. And look on the balcony. Paul Farbrace, both hands above his head. Stuart Broad, wide-eyed, and just puts his hand over his mouth as if he's seen a ghost.
Oh no! What do I look like there?
An outrageous catch.
They showed the side on of me watching the ball, my eyes growing, and then the moment he's caught it, and then I've covered my face, and I heard a bit of a chuckle sort of within the stadium of everyone watching it. And then I remember I got off the field and I had tweets from like Theo Walcott doing the face, and I was like, right, this is someone's got hold of this picture and made it go all over Twitter and a bit viral. So yeah, I remember seeing it quite a lot that evening.
Well, that was just an absolutely phenomenal catch.
Look at that scorecard.
To Michael Clarke, throughout my time of bowling at him in the last 4 or 5 years, I've tended to bowl with a short leg because I felt as a bowler he had a bit of a blind spot for my action. I've hit him quite a few times on the shoulder, on the arm, and I want him to feel like I was going to bowl short. I knew full well that I wasn't going to bowl a short ball on this pitch because I was getting so much reward for pitching it fuller. I was going to continue bowling that length, but I did the old school sort of wave to fine leg, come in 5, because if he top edges it, I want you to catch it. I mean, I used to do that in league cricket, but it's still sort of part and parcel of what I do to try and kid the batsman that I'm going to bowl short. And my plan was to try and swing it away a bit fuller than I had been bowling to encourage a drive. And actually the ball, if I'm brutally honest, didn't really go where I wanted it to. It was too wide and probably 1.5 foot too full.
Broad's on his way. Bowls to Clarke, who's on 10. Here it comes. Slashes it, it's caught! Caught by Cook. 2 hands above his head. A horrible shot.
As he edged it, I just thought, I've got lucky here. But that was my most fortunate wicket out of the lot. I mean, a lot of them fell to a plan. That was a plan, but I actually executed it pretty poorly. But it worked, and that's the first time I looked up at the scoreboard.
5 wickets already for Stuart Broad, and we haven't had 40 minutes play.
Is that the quickest ever for 5 wickets?
Beginning of a match, yes.
Yes. Is it how many balls?
19 balls he's bowled.
On the scoreboard it was 5 for 6 off 5 overs or something, and I was like, I'm onto something here. They're quite good figures. Let's keep this going.
Finn in now, bowls to Neville. Bowled him! Castle him! Away swing and in nip. It was a beautiful ball from Stephen Finn. The spell's been getting better and better. He's been getting quicker. That was 86 miles an hour. It was a beauty. Neville goes. Australia 33 for 7. I don't know what the equivalent of a misprint is on radio, but it's not. 33 for 7.
Finney bowled an absolute jaffa to get rid of the keeper. And then the last few wickets took an age in a mental sense, I think. Obviously they didn't because we bowled Australia out in 18.3 overs, but I think with all the rush of what had happened, just even a leave from a batsman felt like an anticlimax. It was like, come on, play a shot, we want to get another wicket. And a lot of the talk when Johnson was leaving quite nicely was, let's stay patient, let's remember this is a 5-day test match, we don't have to chase the game here, let's just keep bowling our best ball and see how we go.
It's one of those mornings where a dot ball actually feels strangely deflating. You feel it's not a wicket.
Well, there's a bit of an anticlimax in the last Broad over because I think that's the first one where he didn't get a wicket. What was going on? We'd have to take him off, I think.
So if you're just switching on in Australia, switch off and go out and do some gardening or something else. This is not pleasant.
You can't garden in the middle of the night, Jim.
Oh, well, go to the pub. I don't know what you do.
Anyway.
Broad bowls, edge caught! Joe Root catches Stark. Australia 8 for 46. Stark's out for 1. And Broad has 6 for 10.
I remember my celebration was relief. It was just like, we've got another wicket. Rather than it being like, yes, come on, it was just like, thank you, thanks. Like, we've been rewarded for being patient, but it had probably only been 3 or 4 overs. I do remember thinking, should I change my plan from bowling round the wicket because I haven't taken a wicket for 12, 15 balls. But I actually, in my mind, said, well, if it was good enough for Chris Rogers at the top of the order, it should be good enough for an 8 and 9. Keep trying to bowl your best ball.
Broad's coming into Johnson. Johnson edges, he's out! He's caught a 3rd slip! Joe Root takes a comfortable catch, and Stuart Broad has 7 wickets. 7 wickets. Australia 9 for 47, plummeting towards one of the most embarrassing batting performances in Test history.
I had a word with Nathan Lyon when he came out to bat, purely because around the toss I was marking my run-up, he was marking his run-up. He was thinking it should be a bat. As I mentioned earlier, I was thinking it should be a bat. So we had a bit of a discussion about that. And then he came out to the middle, obviously, what would there have been, 50 odd for 9. And he just looked at me, we got eye contact, and he goes, I think it was probably the right decision, Broadie. I was like, yeah, you might be right. And we had a bit of a smile, bit of a laugh, and then he hit me for 4, which is the most frustrating 4 I've ever been hit for.
Up he comes, bowls, and sliced away over the gully and down for 4 runs through third man.
I remember it being so frustrating. I was like, don't you go ruining these figures, don't you ruin my day. I remember thinking that, like, please just let me get rid of him, don't let him slog me for 20 or something. And then fortunately the next ball I bowled a very similar ball and he nicked it to Stokesy.
Broad runs in, bowls, and that's edged and caught, it's all over. One of the most dramatic mornings Test cricket you'll ever see. Australia have been bowled out for 60 and Stuart Broad has taken 8 for 15 from 9 overs and 3 balls. I'll say that again, 8 for 15 from 9 overs and 3 balls.
What I love about that bit of sound is how Aggers is making the 15 sound so like pronounced. He didn't want the mistake of 8 for 50, did he? It was 8 for 15, 8 for 15. It was it sounds so strange when it gets said. I do remember looking at the scorecard on the big screen as I got in, and with the broad, and I was like, that doesn't look real. What has happened here?
Well, we've seen some Ashes spells over the years, but I think Stuart Broad has just gone straight to the top of the lift in my time playing and watching the game.
That evening was a strange one. I was quite emotionally tired, I think. Obviously having to do the media takes another 45 minutes after the close of play, shower, change up, and I remember walking across the car park. You got to walk across the pitch. There was a lot of fans there, all wanting like a signature with an 8 for 15 underneath on their tickets, on their programmes, etc., which was great. I mean, I'd never seen that amount of fans stay for the end of a Test match day.
Absolutely fantastic. The blighter were cock-a-hoop. I was in Australia 18 months ago. We were getting thrashed. The morale was bad. We were bad. But now I feel absolutely brilliant on the back of that.
It was my first ever cricket match, actually. Yeah, I'm reliably informed it's not usually like this.
Broad bowled superbly, and I thought that our fielding was par excellence.
In all the years I've been coming to Trent Bridge, I've never known an atmosphere like that.
When you do the media during a Test match, you always have to be very careful about what you say, and I talked about as having a lot of work to do to win that Test match. Deep down I knew the game and the series was won because Joe Root had gone and got 100. He said the pitch was playing really nicely. He said it was a really good pitch to bat on. I think that moisture had gone out of it, and we had over a 300 lead I think already, so I think we knew something unbelievable would have to happen for us not to win that Test match. But I didn't want to say that in a press conference when we've still got a lot of work to do. We still had 10 wickets to take. And I think I towed a bit of the party line really, but I within my heart I knew that we'd had one hand on that urn.
Wickets tumble as England reduce Australia to ashes, bowling them out for 60 before lunch. The chief destroyer? England's Stuart Broad, who at times scarcely looked like he could believe it either. The fast bowler ended up with a career best 8.
So it probably took me an hour and 45 to get home, maybe after the close of play. So I got home 8:45, 8:45, and B had cooked some fajitas, and I just sat down to eat, so I've had my first mouthful, and the buzzer went, and I was like, who is that? I was tired, I just wanted to lie on the sofa, like see my girlfriend, lie with the dogs. So I've gone to answer the phone and, hey up, I'm like, who is it? It's your dad. Oh, come in. So he'd bought a nice bottle of red over he wanted to have a glass with me for the 300th wicket, which was lovely actually, and he didn't do a toast so to speak, but he said, I can't believe that my little lad who not one bit of his body fitted over my hand, was born 12 weeks premature, has turned and got 300 Test wickets. It's unbelievable. And as we were speaking, my sister called from New Zealand on FaceTime, so I had a good chat. She'd just woken up and was like, I can't believe it, what has happened? So we ran her through the innings. So yeah, it was a really nice evening, but by 10 o'clock I was completely zonked. Like, I just had to go to bed. The whole emotions of being so high and then trying to sort of bring yourself down was spectacular, something I've never experienced. I've never experienced anything like that. It was such a high. It was a day that I'll never beat. It was a day that will always live long in my memory and hopefully the team's memory, because it was a day we had worked a long time for, to bring those Ashes home, and we managed to do it.
And Stuart Broad has taken 8 for 15 from 9 overs and 3 balls. I'll say that again, 8 for 15 from 9 overs and 3 balls, and Australia have been bowled out for 60.